Humans of the cardboard. It's time. We knew this was coming. The first wave of Splight support was not going to be the only wave of Splight support, so let's get into the second wave here. The good sign is Konami hasn't even banned a Splight card in the OCG yet, just totally awesome, and it has made it not the best deck in the game anymore. Tier Elements seems to have taken over that slot, I believe. So they seem a little bit more fair when you take Toad and its non-once per turn qualities out of the deck. So yeah, that's a good sign. But like the downside is obviously if you are somebody who does love Toad in the TCG, it means that might be the same route they go. But we have two new cards here, a new Link 2 and a new Trap card. Let's get into it. Spright Sprind. Is this going to be Springin? Is this going to be Spright Springin? That'd be interesting. Okay, here we go. He's a Link 2 Fire Thunder Link Effect monster, 1400 attack, with a bottom left and a top right arrow. So I got those weird diagonal arrows. That's pretty cool. At least 1 point down. Same materials, I believe, as Elf, which is any two monsters as long as one of them is a level, rank, or Link 2 monster. Very easy to accomplish. There are myriads of decks that just have some a way to get to a level 2. That's all you have to do. In fact, you don't even have to get to a level 2, because if you can just make a Link 2 and then link into this with one more monster, you still get to this card. So still really good. And then this stipulation here, which is interesting. You can only use one of the first and second effects of him per turn, and only once that turn. And also this card cannot be used as link material the turn it's link summoned. So what does that mean? He's got two effects. You can only use one of these per turn. That is very important because they're solid effects, but it'd be crazy if you could use both. But yeah. Here we go. First effect. If this card is link summoned, you can send one level 2 monster from your deck to the graveyard. Yes, that is just the entire sentence. Just Foolish Burial. Now it is locked to level 2s, of course, like this archetype tends to do, but still that's pretty generic, and especially when we already have something like Elf in the archetype, this just sends something that you want to get in rotation, then make Elf. Elf reborns the monster you sent to get in rotation, and you're kind of just off to the races again. So that's a pretty good effect to just get something in rotation. Also, frogs still seem to be one of the best engines that the deck can afford to play. So being able to just send a Ronin, or if you have Ronin but no other material, send a swap, and then that gives you an extra extendability as well. So yeah, pretty good. And the second effect, if another monster or monsters is special summoned while this monster is on the field, just anything, your monsters, your opponent summons, whatever, doesn't have to be to a zone or anything, you can attach one material from your Exceed monster, then target one monster on the field, return it to the hand. Not bad either. This card also can potentially function as disruption and or removal, depending on if you can get it set up for it. Now, it does appear that I mean, listen, if Toad is still around by the time we get this card, which I doubt it will, because this deck is just going to be so crazy good while Toad's still around. You know, making Toad is so easy, and you want it to be a part of your end board, so it kind of sets up for a card like this to be more useful as far as interruption goes. But that's the drawback, right? You have to have this on the field with an Exceed monster that has a material. That's really the downside, but that's not the worst downside at all. I also like that it's any Exceed monster, so technically you could make a 3 or 4 mat Zeus, and you can technically, if you make a 3 mat Zeus, you'd be able to take one of his materials to bounce something with this, and then he'd still have his board wipe, which is pretty good. So I like this card. I think this is a really solid second option. I could easily see a world where the Exceed monster ends up getting banned just because it pulls any level 2 out of the deck and straight onto the field. And I think the deck could easily pivot to another direction now that we have this card, where we just kind of say, hey, let's make this guy foolish, whatever level 2 we want, and then we'll make Elf and reborn it. And that's kind of the same thing as just pulling it out of the deck. Is it as good? No, but when you lose your best, starter like that, engine piece, you have to, kind of pivot. But I could see that being a world where this card takes a bigger role. I think it'll probably be a one of in the deck, but still solid nonetheless. Now we get to Splight Double Cross as a normal trap card. You can only activate it once per turn. Target one monster on the field or in the graveyard to activate one of these effects. So you target a monster on field or in grave. That is any field or any grave, by the way. And then you're going to have an option of one of these 3 effects. The first one says attach it to your rank 2 monster as material. Sheesh. Second effect, if your opponent controls it, place it in your zone your link 2 monster points to and take control of it. Sheesh. And if it is in the graveyard, special summon it to your zone your link 2 monster points to. Sheesh. I mean, dang. This card's pretty powerful. Now, this card does need setup, right? For the first effect, you have to control an Exceed. You have to control a rank 2. For the second effect, you have to have a link 2 on field. And the third effect, you have to also have a link 2 on field. So you have to have either a link 2 or an Exceed on field just to make this work at all. But that's not hard. I mean, usually, even if your deck gets like, even if you're playing Splights and you get hand trapped out the booty hole, you're still probably passing on Elf, passing on the Exceed, because maybe you didn't have any extenders and they just hand trapped the Exceed and you said, well, that's my play. But you open this and you just set it. Plus, listen, we already mess around with whatever that one other card is. It's like Splight Smashers or something, but I don't remember the card name. It's like an alternate search target aside from Startup that is like not a starter, but it's like kind of a removal utility card. I would argue this is just a better interruptive card. I have to read that old other card again. It is a quick play spell, so it can be activated a little more versatilely, whatever, in more versatile situations. But this card, I think, as an interruption, may just be downright stronger. And again, if we see more Splight cards kind of get hit, is there a world where you just say, hey, this trap card's just so strong, I'm just going to play 2 or 3 copies of it, and we'll play Splight Control legitimately. That way I'm okay with getting hand trapped once or twice. I'm not playing as many great extenders because I don't have the Exceed, the gigantic Splight, and cards like that to kind of bait interruptions and keep going. But that's okay, because like even if I just end on any Exceed or any monster, any link too, I'm just able to set this, and this is an insanely powerful interruption. So really, really good. Stealing monsters, insane, whether it's from field or grave. There's no restrictions on these, by the way, as far as removal goes. So once you steal a monster from your opponent, does not say they can't activate their effects, doesn't say they can't attack, doesn't say they can't be attributed, doesn't say they can't be linked off, Exceed, used for Exceed material, literally none of it. They are free game once you steal them, which is pretty dang strong. So definitely respect this card. You gotta love it. So very, very cool. I don't think these cards like take Splight over the top, which is good, which is really good news. The Splights are plenty good without any support. So I'm happy where they put these cards. They're not overly insane, but they're not also like they're not useless. They're not like, oh, this deck's already tier 1. Like these cards aren't even good enough to make the deck if you want to play the deck competitively. I'd say these are both maybe one-ups in the deck. But that's like, I'm okay with that. That's exactly where I want to see. It's not taking the deck to the next level, but it's like nice little pieces to add to their collection. Very cool. I'm still excited for Splights, but I'm like tempering expectations. I like Toad, and I've played Toad in other decks, but I almost want to see Toad get banned, because when Splights have lost Toad, they like lose their biggest form of degeneracy that the deck has available to it. And the deck feels way more fair without it. So I don't know. I have like mixed feelings on it. But yeah, they're still cool. As far as meta decks go, they are one of the meta decks I do like more so than others. But yeah, we'll see. Very cool though. Let me know your thoughts down below on these new cards. I'd love to hear your thoughts. It's a weird one. We don't usually get like good support for decks that are already tier 1. We just saw with tier elements, and now we see it with Splights. It's a weird situation to be in, but yeah, let me know your thoughts down below. I'm out of here. Thank you so much for watching as always, guys. Subscribe to the channel for more updates on Yu-Gi-Oh! Card reveals, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.